Well, hey fans, welcome back to the JanuScary special, and today we're going to talk about Infinity Pool. Now, Infinity Pool is directed by Brandon Cronenberg, and he is the son of the great David Cronenberg, and the film stars Mia Goth, Alexander Skarsgård, Cleopatra Coleman, Thomas Kretschmann, and Jalil Lespert. And the basic premise of the film is you have this affluent couple, James and M. They go on this vacation at this resort in this third world country. While there, they meet this other affluent couple named Gabby and Alban, and they, bond over dinner. Apparently Gabby is a fan of James's book, and they decide to go off the property of the resort one night. And when this happens, they accidentally kill somebody, and James has to take the blame because he was the one driving. But surprisingly, in this country, instead of the death penalty, you can pay to have yourself cloned, and the clone will take the fall for you. And that is the basic premise of Infinity Pool. Starting off with Brandon Cronenberg, I do not think he is as good of a director as his father. He definitely has some of the same stylistic choices, with like the body horror, although there's not much body horror in this film, but there's just like a little bit, and just the way he shapes his stories. I do feel that his directorial style is good for horror. It is unique in all of his own. At the beginning of the film, he does this great thing where he continually uses Dutch tilts to make it look like the screen is rotating. He's showing like the different locations of this, third world country. And I thought that was an eerie aspect to the movie that I really like. He also had it's kind of saturated, makes it almost seem like it's a fever dream, but it's not overly done to where it annoys the eyes. It is still, pretty beautiful to look at even in a saturated state. So I think the film is good in those aspects. The story is interesting. The basic premise that reels you in with this whole cloning thing, I do like. I do not feel that Cronenberg really took that concept to its full, extent, so to speak. And because the strongest part of this film is definitely the first half. The first half is very good. Once you get to the middle and toward the end, it kind of goes off the rails and becomes this, message about how affluent people can really do whatever they want and not really reap any consequence because they can afford to pay their way out of it. And I feel like that is a great message to kind of sprinkle in there, but there should have been, some reward for these, characters at the end. It kind of just fizzles out, and then they kind of go about their daily lives. Here we go again, talking about another horror movie starring Mia Goth, and she is a fantastic actor in it, and I think at this point I'm happy to say that she is a scream queen. She is terrific in the role. I did find her character just a little bit eerie. I mean, she's eerie in all her movies, but there's just something especially off about her in this. How you expect like reclusive rich people to be off. I kind of found that like she has like no care in the world type of scariness. I don't really know how to phrase it, but that's how I felt watching her. I don't necessarily think the movie was super scary, but it is like a horror style. And for me, and I put this on Twitter, the most terrifying thing in Infinity Pool was Mia Goth giving Alexander Skarsgård a dry hand job. that whole scene was just like, what are you doing here? Side note about Mia Goth. So Mia Goth is not a very buxom lady, but her and Shia LaBeouf just had a baby girl, and you can definitely tell because her boobs are on full display in this film, and I think she's happy to show that. Look how big they are. But that's just a side note. She was a terrific actor in the film. So the hump that you have to get over in this film is the issue of cloning, in that you have this third world country that a lot of tourists go to, and they make most of their money having rich tourists come and stay at their resorts that are blocked off from the rest of the island. But somehow they have cloning technology that is just there. It's nowhere else in the world that they make known in the film. And they can clone rich people so they can basically do whatever they want. And it's like, if you have cloning technology, this should not be a third world nation anymore. You've invented something that is just truly spectacular. Like the man who's killed in the beginning. Why is he not getting cloned and brought back to life so he can help take care of his family? Why are these rich people the ones that are getting cloned? And the thing about the rich people, okay, they're not shown as like super rich. They're not like your Jeff Bezos or your Bill Gates or your Mark Cubans. They are not those type of wealthy people. Yes, they have money, but they didn't seem like billionaires to me. So the process of them getting cloned, while somewhat expensive, like they got the money out of an ATM. It's like, how cheap is this cloning? And these are like perfect clones. perfect human clones that kind of keep the memories of, you know, they do keep the memories of the original copies, and they just take this death penalty. And speaking of when the clones take the death penalty, so it is very surreal in the film watching yourself die. So James, the first time he does it, him and his wife go look at the clone, and you have to go to your execution. So they're sitting there watching. M can't watch, but James is staring and watching himself get killed. And the horror on the clone's face is real because he believes he's the real James and he's getting murdered, and he like feels terrible about it. That makes sense. The rest of these rich people, when you find out that they have also gone through this process numerous times, it doesn't make sense that their clones scream in horror about being killed. At this point, they should know what the game is. So when it happens like later in the film and they're all getting killed and they're like, oh no, it's like, are they doing this for a performative feature? I think it would have been better if they just sit there and like, well, see you on the other side, or here we go again. That's what I felt. And another thing about Brandon Cronenberg that I think he messed up on, and I feel like there was going to be a twist. Like when you walk to the movie and you find out there's going to be a cloning thing and the clones take the execution, I was like, oh, here comes the twist. The twist is that they're actually killing the originals and the clones get to live on and have like a normal life. And that is what is going on here. But that's not the case, and they explain that by halfway through the movie. There's one of the characters, when they're committing a crime, he gets shot. You know, they go to jail and they have to get cloned, and the clones have to, you know, pay for the crime. I was like, all right, he's going to stop limping from that gunshot wound, and we'll know that he's the clone. Nope, he limps throughout the rest of the movie. So they are actually killing the clones. And it's kind of weird. They actually bring the question up early in the film. Are you sure you're the original, not the clone? But by showing him limp throughout the rest of the film, they kind of throw that out the window. Speaking of the arrest, and I'm just going on a tangent here, like they sign all this paperwork without ever contacting a lawyer, ever trying to reach people back in the States. All of this stuff, it really just doesn't make sense. Like the cloning is one thing, but not trying to contact a lawyer really kind of takes you out of the film as well. Back to the second half. I think the thing about the characters is that they start kind of likable and you like to see the journey that they're going on. But by the second half of the film, they just become like these hedonistic caricatures of rich people. And it's just not something that I think will continue to interest the audience. I also think that the final scene in the film with James, it really doesn't show any type of character growth or change at all. Like, he's there to cure his writer's block. But by the end of the film, like, I don't even know if we're following that plot thread anymore. I think the film would have done better if in the end he actually did, even though he did all this hedonistic and terrible stuff, if he did get over his writer's block and write like a terrific bestseller on the New York Times from his experiences on this island, I think that would have made for a better ending of something of that nature. So in terms of a score, I think I'm going to give Infinity Pool a solid 6.5 out of 10. Like I said, I really enjoyed the first half. I think it does fall off in the second half, but it is like a nice little horror that you can watch. Also, if you have epilepsy, I would not recommend watching this film. They even have a disclaimer that shows up at the beginning stating the fact, because there are a lot of flashing lights and, you know, strobing effects and stuff like that. So just be aware. So I want to thank you guys again for joining me for the second annual JanuScary special. Remember, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Reddit. And please, pretty please, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, Facebook page, anything and everything Flix Frog, Flip Frog Books. And until next time, I'll be seeing you.